Hi. In this video, I will be attempting to solve the puzzle Tax in Space by James Grimmelmann from the 2012 MIT Mystery Hunt. I did not participate in this Mystery Hunt. 2014 was my first year, but I happened recently to meet a member of Team Codex named Sam Klein. Codex was the team that ran the Mystery Hunt in 2012. I asked them for a recommendation for a puzzle from this hunt, and this is what they recommended, so let's give it a shot. Tax in Space. Payment form. Dear citizen, thank you for cooperation in preparing your galactic tax return. Robotax due, 2 digits in hexadecimal. Processing code, 3 digits. See tables C1 and C2. Tax due, 3 and 3 in decimal. Galactic Tax Code Fragment, Section 61, Tax Owed. Adjustments to adjustments to adjustments to adjustments to adjustments to income shall consist of 100 times the sum of the trilithium recycling deduction and the final 3 digits of the capital loss carryforward added to the phaser deduction. The Illudium Fosdex Exploration Quasi-Credit shall be equal to the sum of wages and tips. Did you have an unmarked sandwich allowance? If so, you have engaged in a like-kind hovercopter exchange event and must compute the appropriate like-kind hovercopter exchange set-off. Alright, so we've got pages and pages of these rules. Table C1, we've got a table of values and a corresponding code. Table C2, same thing. I2 form, species human, wages and tips. Okay, so this might be the inputs to the calculation. Okay. So this might take a little while, but I'm going to try to read these instructions and see if I can tell whether I just follow the instructions using these values or if there's something else hidden in here. Okay, this looks pretty straightforward. I don't see anything that looks like it's a hidden message or anything. There could be something I'm missing. But I think I can see why this is going to be challenging. In order to find the value of something, you have to find the rule that it corresponds to, and they're in a completely random order. So if you try to just start at the top and go down, you're not going to be able to fill in anything. Also, a lot of these things have very similar names. So there's a quantum normalized alternative minimum tax, as well as a hyperbolic quantum normalized alternative minimum tax and an inverse hyperbolic quantum normalized alternative minimum tax. So if you try to abbreviate these things, it might be easy to confuse them. So I think what might make sense is to make a list of rules and check them off as I've applied them, and just have a table of all the different values and fill them in as I go along. Some of the things are worded slightly ambiguously. I'm not sure how much of a problem this is. Adjustments to income is this thing, less this thing, less this thing, less this thing. So it's like A minus B minus C minus D. And I think we just use the normal order of operations there. But you could also read this as saying you start from the right and go left. A less B less C could mean A less the quantity, B less C. English doesn't always follow the order of operations in math. Most of the instructions look pretty easy to follow. Okay, so I've taken 53 minutes and I've copied everything over into a spreadsheet. I have all of the rules. I cut out some of what I thought was flavor text. So you have a subsection letter, a rule, and an output of that rule, what it computes. And it's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of things that could have been harder here that they didn't make hard, which is nice. None of the subsections ever refer to each other. They only refer to the values. So I know that if I have all the inputs for this value, then I can use this subsection to compute it. But of course, they are in this ridiculous order, so you can't start at the top and go down. You have this set of inputs to begin with, and then from there's going to be this dependency tree of which values you need to compute which other values. I might try reordering these based on their dependencies, and so I'll just start with this top one. So this value, in order to compute it, I need the trilithium recycling deduction, the capital loss carry forward, and the phaser deduction. Okay, so I can't solve this one yet. So now let me find where I compute the trilithium recycling deduction. All right, here we go, rule AF, and I'll drag that above rule A. This one requires the Pangalactic Gargle Blaster fee, which that's a given, I have that, and the Robocop statue construction checkoff. Great, so I've got that. Okay, so I can go ahead and compute this one. Negative of the 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 negative. So 6 negatives there, so those all cancel out. Pangalactic Gargle Blaster fee plus Robocop statue construction checkoff. Back to rule A, I've got the trilithium recycling deduction, and now I need the capital loss carried forward. All right, here it is, rule I. So drag it up above rule A. And this one only requires the RP 7313 exclusion, which is given. The annual RP 7313 exclusion. I should be careful not to drop any words here. I need the sum of the first 2 digits of this. 7 plus 3 is 10. It's equal to the annual RP 7313 exclusion minus 1 plus 2 raised to the 10th power. Okay, great. It's capital loss carry forward. I still need the phasor deduction. This one requires the quantum normalized alternative minimum tax. And that depends on the normalized alternative minimum tax, which depends on the alternative minimum tax, which depends on the minimum tax. Minimum tax is a given. Okay, great. The alternative minimum tax shall be the base 10 value of the tuple 1, 14, 18, 21, 7, 14 expressed in the base given by the minimum tax. Minimum tax is 28. We just take 1 times 28 plus 14, times all that by 28 plus 18, and so on, and then we get this number. And I believe this number in base 10 is just what we put in for the alternative minimum tax. So now we take the sum of the cubes of the digits. So you've got 4 2s, 3, 2 6s, and a 7. Okay, this one I'm not sure about. The phasor deduction is the difference of the quantum normalized alternative minimum tax and the annual RP 7313 exclusion. So I have both of those. Less a 75,000 credit scaling factor plus 260 credits. So I think this is this minus the RP 7313 minus 75,000 plus 260, which gives me a negative number. So that I now have the trilithium recycling deduction, the capital loss carry forward, and the phasor deduction, which is enough to compute this value for row A. Adjustments to adjustments to adjustments to adjustments to adjustments to income. All right, anyway, so that's row A, on to row B. So if the first digit of the net relativistic Hodgepodge basis is not equal to 1/2 the last digit, disregard all other instructions and await for the directions of the heat death of the universe, whichever comes later. And I calculated as starting with a 2 and ending with a 6, so that can't be correct. I can go back and look at the inputs to this, look for a mistake, and here we go. So the normalized alternative minimum tax is the sum of the cubes of the digits of the alternative minimum tax. I made a mistake in this formula here. There's 2 6s. Okay, so now I need to go through and recompute everything after this line, if necessary. Oh good, the phasor deduction is positive now. I like that. Some of these formulas are going to update automatically and some are not. That's because some of the formulas are pretty straightforward to put into Google Sheets, so I will do the formula when that's the case. When it's more complicated, like reversing the digits, I just have to do that manually. Maybe I should mark ones that I'll need to recompute. So now row C is incorrect. Adjustments to adjustments to adjustments to income, because now I get 99.99 for that. If adding 1 to this value would change the number of zeros in it, proceed with the remainder of this tax return. Oh, okay, if adding 1 would change the number of zeros in it, proceed with the remainder of the tax return. Otherwise, reset the universe to immediately before the Big Bang and start again from the beginning. Yeah, I misread this. I thought that it should not change it. So now my newly recomputed net relativistic Hodgepodge basis starts with a 4, ends with an 8. Great. Where was I? So gambling gains is the least whole number of credits greater than the quotient of modified net income over adjusted net income. That comes to 285. In the event that it's non-zero, it shall be multiplied by 10, added to the number of letters in the alphabet contained in Section 61 of the Galactic Tax Code, including subsection labels -5, and divided by 29. The number of letters in the alphabet contained in Section 61. So this whole puzzle is Galactic Tax Code Section 61. Does this just mean the English alphabet? The alphabet contained in this? Including subsection labels. So the subsection labels go up to AH. which I guess just means the English alphabet. So I'm guessing the number of letters here is just 26. So that gives us 99. Under no circumstances shall gambling gains be equal to 112,006. Okay. In the event that the gambling gains after subclause A are an even multiple of 5, add 1 to said gambling gains. So I think it's saying if 99 is a multiple of 5, then we add 1 to it. So that remains at 99. Yeah, these are kind of close to 112,006, but gambling gains is 99. It's nowhere close. Okay, yeah, so I guess this is just a trick. The tax owed is preliminary tax owed. Added the fudge factor, added any prepayment penalty. Along with any tax owed, please remit any robotax owed. If you engaged in a like-kind hovercopter exchange event, which we did, you must deduct the like-kind hovercopter exchange setup from the tax owed and stand on your head. So I can compute the tax owed and the robotax owed. I'm wondering if stand on your head is a clue to interpret this number. You know, like if you input into a calculator and turn it upside down, OLHILL. Compute the facility code using preliminary tax owed on table C1. Okay, so that's 0, table C1, that's P. Check some code using allowable gambling losses on C2. So 1. Sorting code using allowable gambling gains on table C1. Yeah, that was also 6 digits. So T. Processing code P1T. Robotax due is 2 digits in hexadecimal. And we have 279 here, which is a problem because the largest value that's 2 digits in hexadecimal is 255. So let's work on checking this. It doesn't say to subtract the processing fee or add the processing fee to the time dilation correction either way. But if you're not supposed to use it to compute the time dilation correction, it's a little strange that it's in the middle of the time dilation correction rule. Let's try that. Let's subtract the processing fee from the time dilation correction. Okay, so now the flux capacitor discharge penalty is exactly 80,000. So that looks better. Robotax owed is now 202. I think I see where this is going, so I am going to try flipping it like I said. Okay, yeah, does that look good? Capitol Hill. Solved. The answer was Capitol Hill. All right. Okay, that was Tax in Space. I enjoyed this one. I especially like the sense of humor. I appreciated the sci-fi pop culture references. I saw Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Star Trek, Duck Dodgers, Back to the Future, and I'm sure there was others I missed. I also thought it was pretty well structured in the way it's laid out. I mean, it seems very random, but there actually is some structure in here that makes it clear that they thought through what the solving process was like. Yeah, beyond the actual idea, I thought the implementation of it was really good. There were also apparently a lot of jokes about tax law in here, apparently written by a law professor, so I think that some of that went over my head. There's almost nothing in the write-up, it's just the table of values that you get. But the author did make this blog post with a couple sentences about it. He calls it a shaggy dog puzzle, a long and convoluted joke. And the puzzle is described here as straightforward-ish. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I would definitely say this is more on the straightforward side as far as these puzzles go. There wasn't really anything tricky, so there was like no aha moments for me. Yeah, I don't really see this tripping anybody up in the sense of like just not knowing what to do. It's still challenging. Like, straightforward is not the same thing as easy. You could absolutely get tripped up by like making a mistake and having a hard time fixing it. But I thought it was really fair in that way. Like I said, it was well structured, and part of that was giving you chances to check your work. There is one thing that I bet this puzzle was really good for during the hunt. When you're in a room with people working on several different puzzles, there's a certain sense of delight that you get when somebody who's not working on your puzzle overhears a little bit of it, and it just sounds so bizarre out of context. It almost feels like you're in on a joke that other people find either intriguing or terrifying. Like if you overhear one person say, "Hey, did we compute the appropriate like-kind hovercopter exchange set-off?" And somebody else responds, "Well, it depends. Do you have an unmarked sandwich allowance?" Yeah, I bet this puzzle made for some funny moments during the hunt. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching.